So, you have a loved one who likes Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest, or anything Square Enix really, and you don't know where to get them. I'm here to help. Alright, so I'm going to split this up into a few different categories. I'm going to start out with games, specifically modern games, and then we're going to go to retro, and then we're going to go to merch, and then lastly books. So I'm going to show some of the prices for some of these things. I took screenshots, hopefully I get everything. This is just going to be a video just helping you out if you have a loved one or want to get stuff for yourself, for like a Christmas gift, birthday gift, whatever kind of gift, right? This is more for people who don't know really anything about Square Enix or Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest, and just trying to look for a guide just to see what, somebody would want. So that's why I'm here today. Alright, start out with games, for modern games. So coming out within the next year, it is currently October of 2025. So in January of 2026, there's going to be Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth versions of the game on Switch 2. The game's going to be coming out for $39.99 USD. This is all in USD. So that's coming out. Dragon Quest VII Remake is also coming out in February of 2026 for $59.99. This is a awesome remake of a beloved PS1 Dragon Quest game. Apparently it's taken a few things out and putting some things in just to make the experience a little bit more smooth than the original. That was a big complaint from the original, that it just kind of drug on for too long. So apparently this one's like a big fix, so I'm actually really excited for that. So if you have a loved one who likes Dragon Quest, this is definitely one to get. Of course, you can also pick up Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake, which is a reimagining of the original Dragon Quest 1 and 2. In this awesome 2.5D art style, with 3D backgrounds with character sprites are 2D. It's really cool. It's a really cool art style, and it's a very good way to play these games. There's also a Dragon Quest 3 remake that came out last year for Switch and PS5 and Xbox and everything, right? Dragon Quest 1 and 2, that's a dual game. That is $59.99 USD. And Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake is also $59.99. Very, very good places to start Dragon Quest. I would recommend starting with 1 and 2 Remake and then go to 3. That's just personal preference. You can of course start with 3 and go to 1 and 2. It really doesn't matter. It does, but it doesn't. My personal take is that I would start with 1 and 2. So if you were looking to give somebody a gift who's kind of new to Dragon Quest, I would choose Dragon Quest 1 and 2 Remake. While we're on this Dragon Quest train, I guess I should probably mention Dragon Quest 11 for Nintendo Switch and PS4, and I think Xbox, and of course on Steam. This game is one of my favorite JRPGs of all time. It is fantastic. Again, this is another really great game for somebody who's never played Dragon Quest before. If they have played Dragon Quest before, they probably played 11. If they haven't, if for whatever reason they just never played it, pick them up this game. It's going to be the cheapest one out of the bunch. It is only $39.99 and it's always on sale. And it's a good, modern JRPG. Now let's go back over to Final Fantasy. I know I mentioned Final Fantasy VII Remake on Switch 2. That is also on, of course, PS4 and PS5. Rebirth is on PS5 and Xbox and coming to Switch 2 eventually. It is a wonderful remake of 7, and it is a fan favorite for a reason, and it, takes the original story of the original game and kind of remakes it. I don't know how else to put it. Although it does its own unique things to make it separate from the original, so there is a reason to play it. So if they're new to Final Fantasy, I would recommend playing the original Final Fantasy before playing Remake. That is something I will say, which you can actually get the original version of Final Fantasy VII in a dual pack with Final Fantasy VIII for roughly about $30. It depends on where you get it. It's a dual pack that's only available on Nintendo Switch. You can also get the Steam version and the standalone PS4 version, but that's only digital. If you want a physical version, the only physical one you can get is the Switch version. And of course, that's the dual pack, like I mentioned before. And of course, that one comes with Final Fantasy VIII, which is another fan favorite Final Fantasy. You can't really go wrong with Final Fantasy VIII. Now, another Final Fantasy game I would totally recommend for somebody who's new to the series or, you know, an old school head. I would definitely recommend Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, which is Final Fantasy 1 to Final Fantasy 6. It's a big old collection of the games. It's a remake of the original games, basically. It just in a better... It's brought up to modern standards. You know, it adds a few little, like, extra quality of life things, adds saves, adds, like, all these different things. It's a whole new art style for the game. It's fantastic. I love the games. And brand new, this game runs for $74.99. You can catch it on sale sometimes. But for $74, getting 6 games, that's definitely worth it, I would say. Now, what's brand new is Final Fantasy Tactics: The Evil's Chronicles. It is a remake of the original Final Fantasy Tactics, just brought to modern consoles. It is a fantastic game. Basically exactly like playing the original, except with a few more quality of life things. Kind of on the same line as a Pixel Remaster, kind of. I've been playing it over on YouTube Live, playing the PS5 version. It is a very fun time if you want to watch that. You know, look at the VODs or watch me live. But yes, this game usually runs for about $50 USD. Totally worth it. It's one of those games where a lot of the older people who've played Final Fantasy Tactics. A lot of the younger crowd really hasn't. So if they're a younger Final Fantasy fan or just trying to get back into the series, Tactics is a fun one to go with. Now, my personal favorite Final Fantasy is also available physically on modern console. One singular console, actually, now that I think about it. It's only physical on Switch. Switch has it for roughly around $35 physically. You can get it digitally on pretty much everything, but unfortunately the only physical version of Final Fantasy IX on modern consoles is the Switch version. And this is my favorite Final Fantasy. I love this game. I love the story. I love the art style. I love the music. I love everything about it. It's so good. If it's this person's first time going through anything Final Fantasy, I would definitely recommend 9. 9 is fantastic. I loved it. Now, have you heard of the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV Online, now with a free trial all the way up to the Stormblood expansion? Yeah, I went there. Yeah, of course. So you can pick up a copy of Final Fantasy XIV on Steam, on, you know, just PC, on Xbox, on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and hopefully Switch 2 eventually. But yeah, the starter edition goes for about $20. Again, that comes with the base game and the first 2 expansions, just like the free trial, except, you know, you're paying for it, so you can, you know, join FCs, join pre-made parties, stuff like that, right? You can use the market board, all that kind of stuff, making the game a little bit easier than a free player. Of course, you can get the complete edition, which comes with the base game, the first expansion, second expansion, third expansion, fourth. It comes with everything, basically from A Realm Reborn all the way over to Dawn Trail. And that roughly goes for $60 brand new, not on sale. If you can get it on sale, definitely pick it up. Now, if this person already plays Final Fantasy and just need the expansion, well, you can get the expansion for about $40. So not too bad. Definitely worth it. Of course, you know me, I'm a big Final Fantasy XIV guy, so anytime I can chill for that, it's a good time. And hey, if you do end up playing Final Fantasy XIV, or if your friend ends up playing Final Fantasy XIV, you know, I have an FC that I run over on the Primal Data Center and on Lamia server. So yeah, if you're looking for a guild or like an FC to join, you know, hit me up. Now, if you want to play something that's Square Enix but not Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy, you can always pick up Octopath Traveler 1 and 2, as well as Octopath 0, which is coming out real soon. And the Live Alive remake. These are all in that HD 2D art style as Dragon Quest. It is a fantastic time. A lot of the same devs who worked on Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest worked on these games. It's just like old school JRPGs. It's awesome. Just brings you right back to the Super Nintendo and early PS1 days. Awesome stories. Awesome stories. And specifically, Live Alive is actually a remake from a Super Nintendo game. So if you want a kind of obscure Square Enix game to play, or if you know, have a friend who wants to play a obscure Square Enix game, Live Alive is actually not a bad idea. Alright, so let's say, you know, they already have all these games, but do they have collector's editions? Now, these are going to be a few just hand-picked collector's edition consoles and whatnot. So the first one I have here is the PlayStation 4 Final Fantasy 15 console. It's very, very, very nice. It has the moon in the background. It has 15 right on it. It's a very pretty console. It's complete. It's going to run you about $350. But you can get it loose for around 130, which is all you need, right? If you're looking for collectible consoles, then this is a great one to start off with. Another really great console is the Japanese exclusive PS3, that is the Lightning's Returns Collector's Edition. This is a very, very, very pretty PlayStation console. I believe it comes in black, but I prefer the white one, to be honest. It just, the white and the purple really work together. I like it. It's gonna run you about $200 loose or $300 complete unboxed. Again, if they're a Final Fantasy 13 fan, this is a no problem. Like, this is a complete yes, pick it up. This is a fun console to have. Even just a display piece, just to have on a shelf, you know? It's very cool. Now, the last console that I'm going to talk about is the Final Fantasy 3 DS Lite console. This is just my personal favorite, one of my favorites. It goes for roughly around $100 loose. For a complete inbox, it's about $340. I don't know, it's just something cute about it. It has, you know, the characters from Final Fantasy 3 just on it, on the top of the DS, and it says Final Fantasy 3. I like Final Fantasy 3, so when I see that, I'm like, oh, that's so cute. And it's the classic Final Fantasy white. I don't know, it just does something for me, man. Now, as for collector's editions for video games, there's only really one that I would, you know, bring up. Well, there's actually two. There is the Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers collector's edition, which comes with, you know, a big freaking statue of the Dark Knight. It comes with a small little art book. It comes with playing cards, and it comes with this really cool box. I know it's silly, it's a box, but it has a mono art on it. It's cool, okay? This is gonna run you about, let's say, $300 loose, or complete a box $400. If your friend is a Final Fantasy XIV fan, this is a really, 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 really cool buy. I'm not even gonna lie. If you can find it for a good price, get it. It is so cool. Another game that has another collector's edition is the newly released Final Fantasy Tactics. That collector's edition is really cool. It has, you know, the whole board from the game. It comes with these little chocobo things, and I don't know, it just, if you play Tactics, you know what it is. It's really cool. Now, let's talk about merch. The number one thing I would get, personally, if you're, you know, loved one or whoever you're gifting this to, is a big Final Fantasy XIV fan, I would definitely find a way to get the Final Fantasy XIV Hydaelyn and Zodiark statue. It is quite a pricey figure. Goes for about $350. It is a very, 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 very nice. It's a nice size. It's very detailed, and it comes with an emote for in-game. So what's not to love? Of course, it is pretty expensive, so if you can get it used, or maybe you can find it new, if they do another run of it, it is a limited run thing, so that just makes it even more valuable, right? So if you can get it, awesome. This is like the coolest thing you can get somebody. Of course, you can always get the vinyl set that comes with, you know, music from Overall Reborn, Heaven's Word, Stormblood, Shadowbringers, and Endwalker. I personally have them, and they sound fantastic, just like they are in game, just, you know, on vinyl, which is, you know, cool. And they have two versions of it. They have Volume 1 and Volume 2. I have Volume 1, and I really like it. Volume 2, I'm assuming it's the, you know, just songs they just didn't have space to put on the Volume 1. They were like, no, we can do a Volume 2. So there it is. I'm not really sure what's on Volume 2. You're gonna have to look it up. But if they already have Volume 1, pick up Volume 2. And if they don't have Volume 1, well, pick up Volume 1. That's what I would recommend anyway. Another thing that they have on the Square Enix website is these little Final Fantasy music boxes. There's a really cool one that's Final Fantasy 3, and it is the Crystal Tower, which also comes back in Final Fantasy 14. It's like a little, it's a little music box version of the song. It's so cool. It's really cute, and it's only $25. So not a bad pickup. Of course, if this person is a big TCG guy, I would definitely recommend the Final Fantasy trading card game. They have starter sets, they have individual packs. I would probably set them up with a starter set. There's one that's $19.99 that has a bunch of, pre-made. It's a pre-made deck with a bunch of cards from all across Final Fantasy. It's there, so it's ready to be played, right? It's a pre-made deck, so you can't really go wrong with that. And of course, there's also card sleeves that are all Final Fantasy themed and mats that are Final Fantasy themed. So if this person's a TCG guy, this is not a bad choice of the gift. Now, if they're a figure collector, first of all, I'm sorry, but second of all, Square Enix website has a lot of different figures you can go with. They have them from almost every other Final Fantasy game. There's some really, really cool ones. For example, this Final Fantasy IX Zidane tribal figure currently says unavailable, but I'm sure it's going to be back. It's for the 25th anniversary. It's very, very nice. There's also this really cool Final Fantasy 16 figure. It's about $340. It's very detailed. I don't know how big it is though. That might be a factor into all this. It's a figure version of the classic artwork from the game. Very nice. There's this really cool Final Fantasy 13 lightning figure that's posable with the weapon, and you can move it around and whatever. Good for posing on a shelf. If they are a 13 fan, I would definitely pick this up. Going back to Final Fantasy 16, there's of course the Final Fantasy 16 Clive Rossfield and Torgal figure. This one's just like the 13 lightning one, where you can pose it around, make it do different poses and whatever. It's very nice, very detailed, and pretty pricey. This one you're basically getting two figures, so it is going up to $239.99. Now, if your friend is a Final Fantasy 7 fan, there is a lot of different figures you can get. These are just some of the standout ones. Of course, there's the classic version of Tifa. You can do different poses and whatever. It's kind of cool. It's in the classic artwork from the PS1 game. It's pretty cool. I like it. And then, of course, there's the remake version, which is basically the exact same thing, except, in the remake version. Again, it's all posable. Looks good on a shelf. And then, of course, there's the different styles of dress in remake, where a certain part of the game Depending on your actions, you get to choose what outfit she is in a certain part of the game that I won't spoil, I guess. But there's a bunch of different ones. There's 3 of them, I think, specifically. Each of them are about the same price, $194.99 it looks like. Depends on which one you get. But, you know, if they already have the original figure, then maybe this one would be a nice way to put it on a shelf, you know? You never know. And, of course, how could I forget Cloud Strife? This one is the classic PS1 art style, and this one is on the Daytona motorcycle from the original game. Now, you can get them individually, or you can get the combo version, which comes with both of them. I would get both of them because, you know, it's like peanut butter and jam. You just have to have them together, you know? They're very, very cool, in my opinion. Also, there's a couple Dragon Quest figurines, as shown on screen now. You know, from 4, 5, and 6. Very classic. They're very nice. They're very high quality. If this person's a Dragon Quest fan more than a Final Fantasy fan, I would get one of these. More likely than not, they're a Dragon Quest V fan. So I would pick up the Nera figure. I would probably pick that up. That's the safe bet. They are roughly around $80 to $90 USD, depending on where you get it, of course. Now, if you want to go real bougie, there's a few pieces of jewelry you can get. So there's this really cool one. It is a Final Fantasy VII Advent Children watch. It's a limited edition model, and it's $350 for this really cool watch. If you can afford it, and if they like being fancy, you know, this is not a bad buy. There's a few different things here. There's, there's this Crisis Core reunion potion necklace, which is kind of neat. There is a Final Fantasy XIV Elpis Flower gold pendant necklace, which is pretty cool. There is a silver Moogle necklace, and there is a Final Fantasy XVI Wings of Promise silver pendant necklace. You know, they're all pretty cool. There's a bunch of different options for jewelry. It depends on, you know, what their favorite Final Fantasy game is out of all these, you know. If their favorite Final Fantasy game is 14, then I would pick up the Elpis Flower one. If they are a fan of Final Fantasy VII, I would pick up the potion or the Advent Children watch. It's all really just up to what they're into. And if you don't know what they're into, well, you can always pick up the Moogle. Everybody loves Moogles. So, the silver Moogle necklace, that's what I'm talking about. Very nice. There's also this really cool Nier Automata silver ring. It kind of has all these different kind of Nier engravings on it. It's real nice, made out of silver. There is a Dragon Quest liquid metal slime ring, which is actually pretty cool. I actually kind of want to pick one up for myself. So if this person is a fan of Dragon Quest, I would pick that up. It's $219, but again, it's silver. It's just so cute. It's so adorable. And a standout for Final Fantasy XIV would be this silver pendant, which is a Zem's crystal. If you haven't played the game, basically it's connected to your main character. It's very cool. I can't really go into spoilers, but if you know, you know. And if you don't know, I don't know what to tell you. So, for our last section is for the books. Now, I'm going to go through some of the new ones, and then I'll go through some of the old ones. Start off, there is a new Final Fantasy XIV Chronicles of Light novel. This is Volume 2. There is a Volume 1. They are very cool. Basically, every year, they put out a few chapters just for like backstories for different characters of the game, different like locations, just different things on their website. And these are books that kind of put them all together, and they actually add a few new ones that weren't on the website. So, you know, it's a cool read for certain characters' backstories. And this is Volume 2, and it is $25. So not a bad deal. And of course, there is an Encyclopedia Eorzea Volume 3. This has a bunch of the lore for Final Fantasy XIV, specifically Stormblood and Endwalker. It's very cool. It has a lot of really cool information about that game. Of course, there's a Volume 1 and Volume 2, but Volume 1's more A Realm Reborn and Heaven's Word. Volume 2 is mainly just Stormblood. If I were to get them 1, and they don't already have it, I would get them 3, because 3 is the coolest, I would have to say. Just so much cool info is in that book, man. Now, a really unique book are the Ultimate Final Fantasy XIV cookbooks. There are currently 2 volumes, and they are very, very interesting. They're just cookbooks of different, pieces of food from Final Fantasy XIV that you can make at home. If they like cooking stuff, not a bad choice to get. Not a bad gift. Of course, there are certain manga. Like, I know there's this Final Fantasy manga. It's like an isekai manga, if you know what that is. There's also a Dragon Quest. There's actually 2 Dragon Quest mangas actually going on right now. There is a Dragon Quest Dai manga. D-A-I. Not Die. It's Dai. Very different, I know. That manga, it takes inspiration from Dragon Quest 3. It's a whole different can of worms. It's its own series, kind of. It's very beloved. It's a very fun read. There is also Dragon Quest of the Mark of Erdrick. That is brand spanking new in America, at least, in English. They just are releasing the first few volumes of that in English. It takes place during Dragon Quest 1. I'm not too sure how far it goes. But it's basically a retelling, I want to say, without getting really into it. If they're a Dragon Quest fan, they're gonna love this. Just gonna say, they're gonna love it. And of course, there is the Final Fantasy VII Ultimanias. There is the Materia Ultimania, and there is a Materia Ultimania Plus for 7 Remake. These books have a lot of lore for the game, a lot of artwork. Just a big old lore book, and interviews and just character information, like characters' ages and stuff. It's really cool. It's a cool read. Now, if they are a Final Fantasy 15 fan, what I would recommend is the Final Fantasy 15 The Dawn of the Future book. This is very cool. It's a freaking novel. It's like an actual novel. It basically tells the story of what would be the DLC for Final Fantasy 15, going after the Arden DLC, which is in this book too, but goes after the other pieces of DLC that just never came out, and it kind of has the real ending for the game, which is kind of wild, and it's canon. So if they're a Final Fantasy 15 fan, this is definitely a really fun read. Now, if they're into sprite work, then I would definitely recommend Final Fantasy Dot. It has a bunch of different artwork from the series, from pixel art and stuff. Look at that. That is so cool. And it's really high quality too. Just a bunch of different sprite work throughout the series. Specifically Final Fantasy 1 through 6. Because those are really the only ones with sprite work. But yeah. Look at that. It's so cool. Speaking of sprite work, I almost forgot to mention. There's these really cool lights. It's hard to tell because the camera doesn't like it, but these are lights. And it's a white mage, black mage, and a white mage. They're really cool. I like them. They're kind of pricey. At least in Canada, they are $50 each. Kind of crazy. But yeah, I really like these guys. Sorry. Seeing this book reminded me of these, so I had to bring it up. Now, if they're a complete, weeaboo, this is going to be very niche, but if they're a complete weeaboo, you know, you can always get them the Japanese Ultimania. For example, this is the Final Fantasy X Ultimania Omega, which goes through all the different information of Final Fantasy X. Goes through, you know, it's like they have a guide in it. They have character stats for every single enemy in the game. They have lore. They have information about different locations. It's basically the ultimate guidebook. It's the ultimate lore book. But there's also the Final Fantasy X Ultimania Battle. There's also the Final Fantasy X Battle Ultimania. I'm pretty sure everything that's in this is in this, but I could be wrong. And same could be said about this one too. This is the Scenario Ultimania for Final Fantasy X. I should probably mention these are all completely in Japanese. So, for example, I don't know how well you're going to be able to read this, but it's all in Japanese. So again, this is for the weeaboos out there. So there's like 3 or 4 different Ultimanias for Final Fantasy X. There's also a really cool one for Final Fantasy VIII. So, again, the books basically look like this. Really hard to mistake them. Especially because on the spine they have the logo of the game, which you can't really see too well. But if you want to go older than that, there is, of course, the Square branded Final Fantasy guidebooks for the old school games, like Final Fantasy III on Famicom. These books are for the absolute niche collectors out there. It's just a bunch of really cool different notes and enemy stats and stuff from the game. It's just a big old guidebook. Neat. And of course, there's also one for Final Fantasy VI. They're really skinny for what they are, but again, it's the old school guides from Square Enix themselves. You can't really go wrong. Like, look at this. It has a bunch of really cool artwork in it too. Even if you can't read it, because, you know, it's all in Japanese. It's still really cool. But yeah, those are for the niche of the niche collectors. Just thought I'd throw that in there. But yeah, hopefully this video helped you guys out. If this has helped you out, please leave a comment in the comment section letting me know, hey, this helped a lot. Or you could even put what extra stuff I should have put in there. And, you know, give more of a guide for people who just don't know. But yeah, this has been a real fun time. Thanks for watching. And this has been Red the Super Namek. And I am signing out. Peace.